What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. I hope you've all had a great community day. Unfortunately for us, Annihilate is back and better than ever here, getting that access to the move Rage Fist, one of the strongest moves they've ever really made. It's a move that buffs your attack, is very cheap, and does a decent amount of damage. It is the first of basically 4 variants of this Pokemon that I want to try out. We have Shadow Annihilate here today. There's also the regular Annihilate with Rage Fist, and then also Primeape. Both Shadow and Non-Shadow both also got access to Rage Fist. So a lot of different Pokemon, a lot of different play styles with this new move. Today, I'm going to try out this Shadow variant. If you want to see my battles live, I stream almost every day at twitch.tv/ItsAXN, starting around 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. I'd love to see you there if you want to see these kinds of battles live. So let's get into the battles today and see what Shadow Annihilate can do. Getting right on into game number 1 here, we see Shadow Jumpluff in the lead up against a Malamar. This is a very neutral lead matchup, and I'm very happy our backline doesn't have to see this right now. In comes an immediate safe swap from our opponent to a Charge-a-Bug, a Pokemon that we do have a decent answer to here with our Dunsparce. We don't resist any of their charge moves or fast moves, but we have super effective Rock Slides and Rollouts to throw against them, so in theory this matchup should go in Dunsparce's favor. The best thing about this is I can also probably farm them down, have energy for that Malamar, but as long as I keep Switch Advantage, I keep our Annihilate away from that Malamar, we should be in a good spot. We are going to be able to survive this as well, as long as they don't get another charge move, another third X's, or I guess at this point, off against us. We should be in a good spot. 3 rollouts should knock them out here. Unfortunately, though, they do get new mechanic. They survive on 1 HP there with that little bit of health on Charge Bug. They get that move off, but we have some energy to throw here against this Malamar when it comes back in. Drill Run will probably do a solid chunk of their health, put them near half of their HP at this point, and now it's going to be a little bit easier for our Jumpluff to take care of. In the back, we see that they have a Shadow Drapion, and this is going to be prime time to come in Shadow Annihilate. You can see just how much damage we're doing with these counters. They're adding up very quickly. At this point, we've only done 4 counters, 5 now. Look how much damage we've done just with fast moves here. Shadow Unshadow action with counter, a very powerful move, and we're going to throw this Rage Fist on CMP here with their next move. They don't actually end up shielding it, but that's fine by me. Now they're not going to be able to do anything to our Jumpluff. We can Fairy Wind them down, and then also spam out charge moves against that, I guess the Malamar, right, when it comes back in. We have already 1 Aerial Ace here. I know I can survive a Foul Play at this point, so even if they're able to reach 2, which I think they will be able to, and these Sideways are adding up, but I will be able to survive the Foul Plays. We just need to get to the 2 Aerial Aces before they're going to be able to reach 3 charge attacks. We have the back-to-back here. We're going to shield up once, force them to throw that second move, just to make sure they're going to have to throw that second move there if they're going to want to be able to even come close to knocking us out. But Shadow Jumpluff is very bulky despite being a Shadow Pokemon. I can survive the move any day of the week, even if they do throw it, which it looks like at the last second they do. This is totally fine. Jumpluff, as I said, pretty bulky. Aerial Ace has been reached. We threw it on CMP here. This Malamar is not going to be able to survive this attack, just barely overcoming this Pokemon here that did have a decent amount of advantage heading into this matchup. Shadow Drapion was a little bit scary in the backline, but our Shadow Annihilate able to overcome it. Alright, up against Lyle Jeffs, the 3-time regional champion, with a Feraligatr in the lead, and they instantly safe swap here to the Shadow Drapion. I have to imagine at this point their final Pokemon is probably going to be a hard answer to Dunsparce, because they're already pretty weak to it. I don't really want to shield my Dunsparce here. The way that I see myself winning this game is by leveraging advantage with our Annihilate. I know that if we don't keep Switch Advantage, we're still fine as long as we have Shield Advantage, so I'm just going to let everything go from this Drapion. If I get knocked out, that's totally fine. If I don't get knocked out, then I got a Shield and I got Switch Advantage here, so we'll no-shield this. We survived just barely because we didn't get debuffed on that first crunch, and we have a fairly bulky Dunsparce, and now a Drill Run will either knock out or draw the second shield from the Shadow Drapion. Looks like they don't want to go down 2 shields here, which is totally fine by me. I'm still going to have Switch Advantage. I can come and Jumpluff into the Skater, and I'm thinking they're already down so much in this matchup. They're probably going to bait us here to try to get something back. I'm going to no-shield, call the Hydro Cannon, and now they're in such a bad spot here depending on their final Pokemon. Looks like they did not have a hard answer to our Jumpluff. We're able to win that one without even needing to use Annihilate. Well, speaking of needing Annihilate, we need it here. This is a terrible matchup for Shadow Jumpluff. We come in instantly with our Shadow Annihilate because I need to make something happen as quick as I can. In comes the Azumarill, and I know what I need to do here. The only way I can win this game is if I get shields down. That way I can start doing a lot of chip damage against that Sandslash, and maybe if they're not going to be that hard of an answer to our Dunsparce in the back, our Dunsparce can put in a lot of work. We're going to shield up an Ice Beam. You can see the bubbles are adding up against us, but our counters and our Rage Fists that we are throwing against this Azumarill have already put it below half health. If I wanted, I could double shield my way through this matchup, counter all the way down against this Azumarill here, and knock them out with resisted fast move pressure, which is exactly exactly what I want to do. I am double boosted, I have energy for the backline, and now we're going to see what the final Pokemon is. It is a Shadow Dragonite. I can save my Annihilate for the backline at this point. What are they going to do here? They do end up shielding the double boosted Rage Fist, which would have done a ton of damage, probably would have knocked them out, honestly, at that point. And we're going to come in, Shadow Jumpluff, try to knock out this Dragonite if we can with this Aerial Ace. They probably survived with the no shield, just barely on about 1 HP there. 1 or 2 Fairy Winds will be enough to knock them out, but this is in a very good spot for us still. We know that we have our Dunsparce, which is going to align into that Alolan Sandslash, and we've already got 2 counters against them, which have done massive amounts of damage. They probably have to shield this, or else they're at risk of getting countered down by our Annihilate. So they actually shield a resisted Aerial Ace from Jumpluff. That is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. In comes our Dunsparce to absorb all this energy. I know I survived 2 drill runs at this point. All we have to be worried about at this point is a catch on their Azumarill, but even if they do catch, I'm pretty sure I can just get to back-to-back drill runs, win this game with charge move pressure. They do throw another attack here, but that is totally fine. We can just throw the drill run, knock them out, and if they do happen to make a catch, then we just swap to Ape. We go for the fast move farm down, and we win the game that way. Looks like this move will land against the intended target. Ace-Slash does take the full force of that drill run. In comes the Azu, and we can win the game there against the Shadow Alolan Sandslash into Jumpluff lead. Once again, a terrible lead matchup here. Another Steel-type Pokemon. I'm going to do the exact same play. Swap in my Shadow Annihilape. I need to make something happen quickly here. I need to force my opponent out of that matchup. I'm going to throw the Rage Fist against this Drifblim. Looks like this is going to be the hard answer to Ape. They can shield once and farm us down if they want to. Looks like that is exactly what they're going to go for here. But we have to keep in mind that is what our Dunsparce is here for as well. We can come in Dunsparce, absorb the fast move pressure. Icy Winds will debuff our attack, which is a little bit annoying. But since we aren't taking any fast move pressure from this thing, and it's only going to be non-stab Icy Winds, I'm going to be able to throw this Rock Slide, likely farm them down without ever being threatened by a knockout with this Drifblim. They do have that Magnezone still around, which is a little bit scary, but we got a few counters off against it. I think they're in range at this point, where with the energy advantage that we have here, against that Magnezone, there's a decent chance an Energy Ball would actually knock them out at this point. I'm going to be able to come in with our Jumpluff, shield up potential Wild Charge baits, or call Mirror Shot baits. I knew at that point, if they were going to be so bold as to go for a Wild Charge, they'd be in a very bad spot. A Mirror Shot is so likely, they're probably fishing for the debuff as well, excuse me, and now they are going to try their best to spam out charge moves against our Shadow Jumpluff. I am 1 Fairy Wind away here from getting to my next Energy Ball. At this point, it will knock out if we can reach it, which we do at the last second here. They still have their Drifblim, right? They still have a third Pokemon, which we have not seen yet, but we have a shield, we have a Shadow Jumpluff, and we have a Dunsparce. What can we beat in the back? It's going to be a Shadow Annihilate, or Shadow Primeape, that is. And I was calling the catch a mile away there. I knew they'd try to catch a move if possible. Luckily, we have a shield, we have an Aerial Ace loaded, and we are throwing this Drill Run against the Primeape. This Pokemon is a hard answer here to our Dunsparce, but even with that said, at this point, we've done so much damage with our Dunsparce, we almost knocked it out there. We CMP the Aerial Ace, we can easily shield up this move, knock them out with our charge attack, and now this game will be ours against the Shadow Magnezone lead up against our poor little Jumpluff. GG's to our opponent, just barely overcoming this matchup, but also a very good showcase of what Shadow Annihilate can do. It got the shield advantage that we needed, even though it was in a pretty bad spot nonetheless. Alright, this is a much better lead here, though, for our Shadow Jumpluff. It is a Water type into our Grass type, but you do have to keep in mind Azumarill generally does run Ice Beam. That would do a catastrophic amount of damage, and if they're staying in this matchup, I have to assume they might be a little bit weak to Shadow Jumpluff in the backline. They are staying in, they no-shield that Energy Ball, which is always nice to see. Landing that Energy Ball is going to be the hardest hitting move I can get against this Azu with this team. We're going to shield up that Ice Beam. If they're staying in here, once again, I'm thinking the backline could definitely be weak to our Jumpluff here. I want to keep it around and keep it as healthy as I can, because these bubbles don't do anything. It's all or nothing with this Azu. Do they get the one shot with the Ice Beam, or are they going to get nothing just getting the bubble damage against us? I'm going to double shield here. I know at this point that I can outpace them to Aerial Aces here, and we're putting them into Aerial Ace range just with these Fairy Winds. If they want to shield this up, I get to the next one on CMP, and I win CMP. If they don't want to shield, then we still just win this matchup outright. And in the back, we're going to see an Oranguru. Alright, well, I guess this trainer is trying their very best here to counter our Annihilate, right? They had the Azumarill in the lead, the Confusion user in the backline. I don't want to let them just get rid of my Jumpluff at this point. It seems like they might be a little bit weak to Shadow Jumpluff in the back with the way that they've been playing out this game, and now I can see why. They come in with that Malamar, which is not exactly the hardest response here to our Dunsparce, but it's not a bad answer, I guess, right? They have superpower, these sideways are adding up, but we already got to another drill run. This will probably draw the shield from them. If they don't shield, they're almost going to get knocked out at that point, and now we're going to try our best to get to another drill run against this Malamar. They can superpower us, it'll do a lot of damage, but it will debuff their stats, and we actually survived just barely. Can we reach another drill run? Just barely before getting Sidewave down. Our Dunsparce able to reach another charge move here, so that Oranguru is still around. I don't want to come in Annihilate against it, because I know that they could go for Trailblaze, start ramping up. I'm going to come in with our Shadow Jumpluff and try our best here just to close it out without even needing to use our Shadow Annihilate this game. They're triple countering our Ape, but who needs to worry about that if we are not even going to need to use our Ape at all this game? In comes the Aerial Ace. This will knock them out, or at least put them into fast move farm range. No, it looks like that is just enough to take out the Oranguru, and Jumpluff putting in so much work in that matchup. All right, another great matchup here for Jumpluff. The reason I'm using Jumpluff today is it is one of the best answers to these fighters, right? The Primeapes, the Annihilapes don't have very good coverage against it. They can spam out Rage Fists, which will start adding up over time, but with just how quick you are to these Aerial Aces and the fast move pressure you have with Fairy Wind, it makes it so those fighters have a very hard time taking you out. We see that they safe swap a Shadow Gator, which is a Pokemon that you normally wouldn't really want to bring into a Grass type, but because Shadow Jumpluff would take so long to get to that Energy Ball, I am just going to chip them down with that Aerial Ace, come in Dunsparce, absorb the energy, and then throw this Drill Run. I am totally fine losing Switch advantage this game, because if we get Shield advantage, our own Shadow Annihilate should just sweep this game. We can come in Ape, counter them down before they get to a move, and have the energy lead up against our own Ape, an energy and a shield advantage here. I think we are in a solid position to win this matchup. I don't actually know how much damage a Rage Fist is going to do. This is the first time landing a Rage Fist against the opposing Annihilate. Will this knock out? No, it's not a Shadow Ball, right? But is this counter down range? Can I shield once, farm them all the way down with my Shadow Annihilate before they can reach 2 Rage Fists? If that is the case, then that is just crazy for us. We're probably going to win the game straight up if we can do that. In the backline, we see that we would have been able to farm them down, and they bring in a Toxapex, a Pokemon that is a very hard answer to our Shadow Jumpluff. But now that we've kind of ramped up with our Annihilate, and since we are resisting these poison jabs, I can just start spamming out these charge moves. I know at this point we can also probably farm them down if they end up no-shielding this, and if they ended up shielding that move, then my next Rage Fist would have done even more damage. We just started ramping up with Shadow Ape, and we won the game beating the poison type with our Ghost and Fighting type Pokemon. Alright, that's a terrible lead matchup here. The Dugong is not something I want to see. We come in here with our Shadow Annihilate, and in comes a Skarmory of all things. Alright, well that's not a great matchup. It's also Air Slash. If this was Steel Wing, it would probably be a little bit better for me, but Air Slash is super effective, and this is kind of terrible. I'm AVA weak to this Pokemon. My best answer, I guess, would be the Dunsparce, but even then, that's a pretty bad matchup. I don't know if this is going to be quite enough to knock them out here. It would have been if they would have let that through. The counters barely don't knock them out. If that was a simultaneous KO, if they didn't survive on 1 HP, we might be able to win this game. But now I have to come in with Jumpluff, stack it, and hope that they're ABA weak to our Dunsparce in the back. They already had that Dugong in the lead. I'm just hoping right now they don't have a better answer to Dunsparce sitting in that backline matchup. If it's something else that our Dunsparce has play into, we can win. They are running the Dugong Poliwrath core the day that Annihilate comes back. That is crazy to me. Alright, well, against Rise to Occasion here with this next matchup, gonna be a very bad lead for us with that Shadow Drapion. They outpace us, and since we have to safe swap our Shadow Annihilate into it, they actually reach a move first. They deny one of our counters, and now this is gonna be a bit of an awkward matchup depending on how our opponent wants to play this out. Since they're staying in here, though, I'm going to do something that I don't normally like to do, but I think with Shadow Annihilate is a very strong play. I'm just going to 2-shield, fast move this all the way down. Since they're staying in there, right, I'm going to make their life so uncomfortable just spamming out charge moves now and trying our best to stall out the switch clock so we can save our Annihilate for a future matchup. Another Rage Fist will be thrown. They kind of have to shield this if they don't want to get knocked out by it, which they do end up shielding. I'm going to try to catch a fly here. Unfortunately, our opponent does not end up going for it, but we come in Dunsparce anyway. Brave Bird's going to do a lot of damage. It won't knock us out, though, and we will get the full fast move down, hopefully using our Annihilate in the backline for a better matchup. In comes their final pick, though. It's going to be a Diggersby. All right, they still have a bit of their Shadow Drapion. They still have a lot of health, I guess, here on their Diggersby, and they're also going to be able to farm us all the way down, or potentially just come out of this matchup with a lot of energy if they throw a move here to knock us out before we get a third drill run, which they probably want to do, right? They don't want to give us the access to another charge move here. If I got that next drill run off, they'd just be in counter downrange. So our opponent is forced to throw energy, but they have so much energy still loaded, they can probably get to 3 Fire Punches against our Shadow Jumpluff, and I don't know exactly how we're going to be able to win this one. I have to make sure a catch does not happen, reach 2 Aerial Aces, and get the counter down. I think it's going to be our best way to win this match. I'm going to try to wait a turn here, but it was on the same exact time that our opponent decided to throw their charge move, which means that even though I waited the turn, we actually denied ourselves that extra Fairy Wind, which probably won't matter, but it is a little bit annoying that I ended up doing that. We do throw the Aerial Ace, likely going to see a shield shield come through, and I just need to watch for the catch at this point. If I ever see a catch come through, we need to make sure that we don't throw the energy, but no catch happened here. We can throw this Aerial Ace, and now I could try to snipe him down here, but I'm thinking if I try to do the snipe down, he might end up throwing that Fire Punch, but he tries to call the snipe down in the first place. I come in, Annihilate, and I'm able to counter down the Drapion. Now I have a close combat loaded for this Diggersby. We just throw it against it. Probably the most overkill move you could ever throw against anything, but we'll still take the victory there. GG's to Rise. Our next matchup against a Azumarill, a much better lead than that last game, but we still are going to have to watch out for those Ice Beams, as we were talking about earlier. Ice Beam is a very powerful move against a Grass and Flying-type Pokemon, so we're going to try our best to just whittle this down with Energy Ball, and then once we land that move, just play out the 2-shield matchup here. I know that Shadow Annihilape generally likes having shields, but it's bulky enough where normally you can survive one charge move, and even in the 0-shield matchup against a lot of things, you can throw just straight-up close combats if you need to. Like, you one-shot almost everything in the meta once you reach that close combat, so it's not exactly the worst case scenario, and we are getting rid of one of the best answers to Annihilate in the backline, because this Azumarill could be their best answer to it. It is honestly kind of up in the air, though. A lot of people are running triple counter to the fighting-type Pokemon today, because obviously it's the day that the fighters first got released, that these new monkeys are going to be everywhere, so a lot of people are just running triple counter to fighting-type teams. I'm the sucker, I guess, running the fighter, but honestly, this climb that we had today was insane. Our win rate was, I think, we only got like 20 battles in because we ended up getting like really bad queue times at the end of our stream here. But we ended up basically going, I think, like 15-5 with this team overall. It was kind of crazy. Anyway, they come in with Goodra, by the way. I should probably narrate this battle a little bit better. I'm just going to absorb the energy on our Dunsparce. We know that they still have a little bit of energy on that Azu. In fact, I think they did swap out maybe one away from an Ice Beam. Yeah, they do end up doing that, so they overfarm here. They're at 6 right now on this Azu, and since I throw this Drill Run, I know for a fact I can either get a shield or knock them out here. They end up shielding that move, and now we have our Annihilape and we have our Shadow Jumpluff with shields down, and I have energy lead on our Jumpluff. I'm going to come in with Jump, and the backline Pokemon is not something we actually want to see. One of the worst Pokemon we could possibly see in this situation, it's going to be the Shadow Drifblim. With that said, we have a lot of neutral pressure here with our Aerial Aces and our Fairy Winds. If we can either force them to throw energy, or if they try to farm us down and we can Fairy Wind them down, we might still be able to win this game despite having an Annihilape in the back. Our opponent gets a little bit scared that he get Fairy Winded down there. It would have been very close. I think their only win con would have been committing to the fast move down and just hoping they'd survive, but our Annihilape can now come in, counter down this Drifblim, and counter down that Azu later on. GG's to our opponent. Alright, next game, a Wigglytuff in the lead. Once again, this is exactly where we want to see it. I know they have Icy Wind, so we have to be careful of that. We probably have to shield up a move, but I need to make sure that at this point we get rid of this so our Annihilape does not have to deal with a Wigglytuff. Once this is gone, I'm hoping that Annihilape is going to have a lot more play in the back, and I know that sometimes these Wigglytuff leads are going to have like ground types in the back line, so if I can keep my Jumpluff around, or at least get shield advantage using it, because our opponent would be so scared of our Jumpluff that they'd probably want to shield anyway, then I'm going to shield, I'm going to invest in this Pokemon, and try our best here to knock out this Wigglytuff, or get some sort of big advantage in our favor. They do end up shielding there. In the back line, going to be a Dunsparce. That is a fantastic Pokemon for our Annihilape to see. With that said, it's actually not as hard counter of a matchup as you might expect it to be. Like, it's not bad for Annihilape in any means, but if you want to farm them down, you do actually have to commit a shield, or you have to throw a close combat, which that is a huge waste of energy to have to do, so I'm fine just shielding once, going for the full farm down here, and trying to make it so that this Dunsparce's life is as miserable as possible. In comes this Wigglytuff, go for the close combat, get the guaranteed either knockout or shield against this Pokemon, and if they do shield, we have a Rage Fist loaded we can throw. It's not going to do a lot of damage. If I would have shielded, or if I would have thrown the Rage Fist, they would have shielded that, and then close combated there, that would have been so fun. Unfortunately, though, we did play the safe play there. We went for the close combat to guarantee the shield, because I didn't know if they wanted to shield that or not. We come back in Shadow Jumpluff, we go for the Aerial Ace, get the knockout against them, and now we see their final Pokemon. It's actually a triple normal team with Diggersby as their final pick. This is going to be amazing for us to get this Energy Ball off against. This is going to do a critical amount of damage. We also get the defense drop, not that it matters. I think we still need 2 charge moves to knock this thing out anyway, and they throw on alignment here, which is not exactly what you want to do, but at this point, there's not much play that our opponent has. Scorching Sands, even if they get that debuff, is not going to stop us from getting the 2-shot here. We can throw one Drill Run, we can throw the next charge move in just a second if they play this out. Drill Run, yeah, just barely, even with that defense drop, not enough to knock out. They can throw another charge where they're fishing for the debuff. You know, maybe it's a Hyper Beam. If they have Hyper Beam, we're gonna get one shot, but no, it's just a Scorching Sands, and might as well. We have the Rock Slide. We know it's gonna knock out. Get the BM here. They're stalling out this matchup a little bit too long. Might as well just assert a little bit of dominance at the end of that game there. But GG's to our opponent. All right, up against SS Thorn, a player who recently got #1 on the leaderboard, and now he is using Dugong against our lead Pokemon there. Our Shadow Jumpluff does not want any part of that, and a Shadow Sableye into our Shadow Annihilape. Well, this is not looking good for us right now. Shadow Sableye is probably one of the best answers to Shadow Annihilate in the game. With that said, our opponent actually opts to no-shield their Shadow Sableye here, which, look at that. If we shield this, we flip switch advantage, we potentially can get our Dunsparce against that Dugong and our Jumpluff against whatever their final Pokemon might be. We're going to see that they come back in here with their third Pokemon. It's actually a Weezing. Was that a Shadow Galarian Weezing? If so, they might have to shield this, which they actually end up shielding. Okay, so our Dunsparce is going to just be critical to winning this game. Our opponent was actually kind of triple weak to that Pokemon. With that said, though, this Weezing has access to the charge move Overheat. Overheat is going to do a critical amount of damage if it lands. I'm going to make the call that he's going to bait us, though. I know at this point how much he needs damage against our Dunsparce. If he went for the Overheat there and I shielded it up, that probably would be instantly game over for him. So I'm going to call that move, knowing he kind of has to make that call. We go for the Drill Run. It's not going to knock out because he likely is going to shield this move, but if he did no shield, it would one-shot. We're going to overfarm a little bit as well against this. I could have thrown on alignment there with that Drill Run, but I thought there's a chance he might catch the move or throw on CMP, so I didn't want to do that. But now that he's thrown his energy, I will throw the Drill Run. I can get to a Rock Slide, but the big question is, can our Shadow Jumpluff reach a move, or can I reach 2 Rock Slides with our Dunsparce? This is going to be such a close endgame. We're on our 3 cycle right now. I think I have to swap and drain all of their energy on our Shadow Jumpluff to make sure that I'm going to be able to reach another Rock Slide on our Dunsparce. I can't afford them throwing an Icy Wind against our Dunsparce here, and in comes the Icy Wind against our Shadow Jumpluff. I know I survived 1 move here, and now they're going to have to throw their second if they want to knock us out. An Aerial would not have knocked me out there, or knocked them out, rather. So I had to build up to the Energy Ball, force them to throw their Charge Move, and now Dunsparce, can you survive long enough to get to this Rock Slide? 1 HP survive here. Our Dunsparce, very high rank, able to survive long enough to knock out this Dugong, just barely overcoming the Dugong lead against our Shadow Jumpluff. GG's to Mr. SS Thorn. Fantastic battle there once again. But it looks like in the next game here, up against a Whimsicott in the lead, battle against the Fairy Grass type Pokemon. Obviously, I'm not actually a Fairy type with Jumpluff, but it's going to be doing a lot of Fairy Wind damage. We'll outpace them to these Aerial Aces, and I'm kind of surprised that they're staying in here, because this is actually a pretty bad match for the Whimsicott, just in general, because obviously we outpace them so heavily with these Aerial Aces, they're enough to 2-shot them, and I survive a Moonblast pretty easily. I can overfarm, get up a little bit of extra energy here, just in case I need it for the backline matchup, and throw this move, see if they're going to shield. And since they stayed in this matchup, if there's something in the backline that I can save swap to our Shadow Annihilape into, I'm going to. I want to save our Jumpluff just in case we need it later on, and I'm going to come in, start ramping up with our Shadow Ape. I'm going to 2-shield it. I'm going to do whatever we need to do to keep our Annihilape alive. Rage Fist doesn't do that much damage, right? But it's not about the initial damage, it's about what it does in the future. You can see these counters already adding up so much against this Clodsire. We can shield up the Earthquake, we can go for another Rage Fist in a second, but I'm actually going to save my energy here because I'm thinking at this point, they've stayed in so long, I can just overfarm to 2 moves. If I need to, I can just back-to-back the Rage Fist later on, but if they swap out, I want to be able to throw it against whatever comes in. In comes their final Pokemon, it's going to be a Shadow Feraligatr, so it makes some sense why they're staying in that lead matchup. They are actually just so weak to Jumpluff this game, and I'm going to go for, once again, another Rage Fist. Our counters at this point, Shadow into Shadow, look at how much damage we're doing to them, basically looks super effective at that point. I can absorb the energy on our Dunsparce, overfarm as much as possible to have a Drill Run for that Clodsire, and make sure that we can win this game, throwing charge moves with our Dunsparce and also our Shadow Jumpluff. We can survive 2 Hydro Cannons here, although it is a little bit more uncomfortable than I'd like it to be. They come close to 2-shotting us with these moves because it's such a strong attack, but we still get the farm down here. We have a Drill Run. I'm going to swap out to our Shadow Jumpluff just to not give them that sneak from that charge move against them with our Dunsparce. I don't give them that extra Poison Sting that might have given them the chance to get to a charge move against our Jumpluff before we got that Aerial Ace, because I'm not quite sure they were in range of getting knocked out by a Drill Run just yet. After that Ace, they definitely were. We end up getting a second Ace because they just overfarm, and we are able to Fairy Wind down the Shadow Feraligatr and take the game once again with our Shadow Jumpluff. All right, next matchup. We've seen this before, Wigglytuff in the lead. Not exactly the worst case scenario for us, but it is a little bit awkward because they do have Icy Wind. They have access to a lot of utility with the Swift charge attack as well if they want to be a little bit quicker on reaching the charge moves, and these fast moves are adding up very quickly against us. We throw the Energy Ball. This time, they actually end up shielding that. Last time, I think we threw the Aerial Ace and they no-shielded, so we can't make a call properly, I guess. We go for another Aerial Ace, we get the move through, and it does quite a bit of damage to this Wigglytuff. We're going to throw another Ace. They just don't know their counts, I guess, against this thing. I'm really surprised they haven't thrown an Icy Wind at this point, but this Aerial Ace is going to do so much damage, put them into counter down range at this point. I guess I just let my Drifblim go, or my Shadow Jumpluff, rather, go. Not Drifblim, this is a Jumpluff, very different Pokemon. We just counter them down with our Annihilate. Sure, they have 2 moves. This is just a Swift, though. Once Wigglytuff is gone, I can almost guarantee that Shadow Annihilate is going to have a ton of play, no matter what it's going to be, and yeah. They just top left GG's to our opponent. Our next matchup here against a Shadow Nidoqueen. That is so incredibly bad. It's not even funny. That is one of the worst leads I could ever see with this Shadow Jumpluff. And our Dunsparce in the back isn't even an answer to it as well. And we have responded against a Mandibuzz with our Shadow Annihilate. That is not good. This is so bad. With that said, Shadow Annihilate now runs close combat. This would do a lot of damage if they let it through, which they do not. But now I know what I can do. I can just shield once, probably get shield eventually, get both shields down from this thing, and once shields are down, Shadow Nidoqueen is a lot less scary to deal with. I can overfarm here, go for the close combat right before they reach their next air release, and make sure that I don't give them too much farm by throwing this close combat here. Getting that full Snarl down is going to be a little bit rough because now I have to absorb the energy on their Shadow Jumpluff. The reason I come in Jumpluff here is because I know at this point that their Nidoqueen would just kind of destroy us one way or another, so I might as well sack it here. I might as well just let our Jumpluff take all the energy it can, and then maybe if I can make a catch on the third air release, I can have energy on both my Dunsparce and my Jumpluff. We catch the move successfully here, and we also get a full-on rollout sneak, so depending on what's in the back, there might still be a chance for us to win this game. With all the energy that we have on our Shadow Jumpluff, we can probably take out that Nidoqueen with just our charge move pressure, but in comes the final Pokemon. That is not good to see. That's going to be a Primeape. That is one of the hardest answers here to our Dunsparce, but with that said, once again, they're going to have to throw a close combat if they want to knock us out. I'm going to shield this up and hope that it's not a Rage Fist bait. Fortunately for us, it was not a bait. They went straight for it. This drill run will easily knock them out, but they still have a Nidoqueen. They still have a Mandibuzz alive as well. I'm going to need to do my best with our Jumpluff this game to try to strip down that Nidoqueen and then use our Dunsparce to take out the rest of that Mandibuzz. We end up throwing this energy ball. Is it going to be enough to knock out? I don't think so, right? Even though they are squishy, it's not going to do anywhere near as much as you need it to do. I'm going to throw this air release now as well. No catch comes through from our opponent, and now that I've landed this air release and this energy ball, it should be enough to knock out the Shadow Nidoqueen, flip one of the worst matchups in the game possible, and come in with our Dunsparce, survive a move from this Mandibuzz, and reach a Dark Pulse, or reach a rollout before they can knock us up with a Dark Pulse. Or they don't even throw a charge move, and we win the game anyway, because Dunsparce is just that good. Alright, next game here against an Ariados in the lead. Our whole team actually has a lot of play into Ariados, but it is a little bit awkward because they can debuff us before we're able to reach a charge move, but for some reason here they don't go for the CMP, they just instantly, or they're just overfarming with their Poison Stings. I guess it doesn't really matter because they shield anyway, which means that now this lunge will come through. It'll do a decent chunk of our health, but it's not going to one-shot us. I can throw another air release here, get them into range where I can knock them out either with fast move pressure with our Dunsparce or with a Rage Fist with our Annihilape. This matchup, the longer it goes on, just gets worse and worse for Jumpluff, so I'm just going to let this go. I'm going to let our Jumpluff go, take shield advantage, and hope that either our Annihilape or our Dunsparce will have some play in the back. I've seen a lot of these Ariados lead teams really disrespect Dunsparce, right? Maybe things like Drifblim in the back, maybe things like Toxapex. And if it's either one of those Pokemon, we're going to be in a decent spot here. They're throwing a charge move against us. If it's a Trailblaze, then it's not going to debuff our attack. If it was a lunge, obviously, it would do a lot less damage. We end up no-shielding that. They make a nice catch on their Toxapex. They store a move on their Ariados, but because we know that it's probably going to be a hard answer to our Annihilate in the backline, I'm guessing right now a Drifblim, because I've seen that team quite a bit recently. I'm going to stay in this matchup with our Annihilate, just ramp up with Rage Fist, and make it so our Dunsparce is going to be our win condition this game. We would reach another Rage Fist here if they didn't throw this energy, but at this point I know if we just invest in Dunsparce, go for the rollout down against this, have Rock Slides to go against that Ariados, have Rock Slides as well against a potential Drifblim in the back, we should be in a good spot. The only issue is by going down with our Annihilate there, now I have no way to clear an attack drop, and they did store a move on this Ariados, right? They are 4 away from another attack, so if 3 rollouts are still enough to knock them out, I should be able to get the fast move down, take them out, start spamming out Rock Slides against their backline, and I should be in a good spot to win this game. What Pokemon do they come in with here? Do they try to drain energy on their Toxapex? Do they bring in their final Pokemon? If it is that Drifblim, they're probably going to start trying to debuff us here. We go instantly for the Rock Slide. They wait down their Switch Clock, so now a catch potential could happen, and I want to make sure that's not a possibility this game. We're trying to wait the turns here, but our game is unfortunately being a little bit laggy, which means that now we're double debuffed before I even throw a Rock Slide here. Bit of a bad play by me. Now, I don't even think that 2 Rock Slides are enough to knock out this Shadow Drift, or this non-Shadow Driftblim. That's not even a Shadow, which means, yeah, definitely not. I'm not going to be able to knock them out with 2 moves, but I think that the one silver lining is they're also not going to be able to knock us out with 1 Icy Wind here. If they were the Shadow, then we could knock them out with the Rock Slides, but now, since we survived these Icy Winds, I just need to have a little bit of energy in the backline, ready for when that Toxapex comes back in. Make sure that if they do come back in with that Toxapex, I can throw energy immediately so I don't take a ton of poison jab damage. I guess we're going to go for the Rock Slide again, might as well. At this point, they're in Rock Slide range, despite me being like triple debuffed at this point. And now, as long as we don't get Astonished down in 3, we can reach the Rock Slide, knock out this Drifblim, and take the match here. A little bit of a clunky endgame by me. Should have thrown my energy a little bit sooner against that Drifblim before a debuff came through, but in the end, we still won the match. GG's to our opponent. And with that said, we have a 5-0 set to cash in here at the end of the day, getting us almost into the 3400s. This team was so incredibly strong. I was expecting today everyone to be countering the Annihilapes, which honestly, they kind of were, but Annihilate still just countered through so many things that you wouldn't really expect it to be able to. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching today's video. I stream my battles basically every day at twitch.tv/ItsAXN. Make sure to check me out there if you want to see these kinds of battles live. I also am going to upload a lot more to the channel, so if you want to see more content like this, please make sure to subscribe. Alright, well, thank you again for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.